My name's Adam Mallette. I'm a senior in school, and I'm majoring in chemical engineering with a minor in philosophy. I'm originally from Canton, Ohio, and next year I'm going to be going to graduate school to get a PhD in chemical engineering. My whole childhood, I really liked math, and then got into high school and found out that I really liked chemistry. I'd always liked science and specifically was interested in chemistry, and um, all along was always considering something in the math, science, medicine route, um, and just decided that since I like math and science, engineering would be the natural way to start college, and I figured I could always change if I wanted, and just never really had a reason to switch out, and I've enjoyed it the whole way. Clearly, I've enjoyed it enough to want to go to grad school for it, so yeah. Yeah, I really liked chemistry and wanted to see how that, I was interested in how that plays a role in industrial settings, and really wanted to learn more about it. And I think that desire to learn about it was indicative of my desire to want to be in the field. Not really. I mean, I looked at them, um, and our intro to engineering class had opportunities to do some mechanical engineering, civil engineering related projects. The one that I did consider for a bit was computer science. I actually gave a little thought to. I really liked our coding project freshman year, and I had done programming a little in the past, but couldn't see myself working behind a computer all day. So um, I've never had an internship in engineering. I had an internship at a soap company in an R&D department, which I think was really good because it made me realize long term I think I'd be interested in the R&D sort of setting versus like a large scale plant, which sort of started getting me interested in getting a more advanced degree. Um, and then otherwise I've actually done research in 3 different labs, but none of which were chemical engineering. I did research in a chemistry lab, in an aerospace engineering lab, and a biophysics lab. The most immersive one of the 3 was biophysics. I was in Dublin over this last summer doing research there for the whole summer, and really got invested in the project, met some amazing people, and just enjoyed kind of being in that atmosphere of struggling through equipment not working, which is frustrating, but it's also like those are the problems that you encounter in research. And learning so much more about a process rather than what's typically done in industry, which is like, oh, this works well enough, we'll just keep doing this. I like to know like the best way of doing something rather than just what works well enough to make money. Yeah, so I've gone to Catholic school my whole life, raised in a Catholic family, but I never really developed this sense of a personal relationship with God until really the last year. Being at Notre Dame, being surrounded by people for the first 2.5 years really impacted me, I think, in a lot of implicit ways. Being surrounded by people who are going and building wells in Uganda and doing so much service work, and people who are so invested in how what they do affects other people, really inspired me and I think affected me. But like I said, I didn't have a very strong personal faith life beyond just going to Mass on Sundays, until a little over a year ago, a friend came to me about developing a more ascetic lifestyle as part of like a program similar to Lent, but like a little more rigorous. And in doing this, part of it was praying for at least an hour a day. And I had never prayed regularly beyond before meals, before bed, just like a little, quick little thing. So it was really a change in my lifestyle, and one that within a week totally changed my perspective on life, my perspective on what kinds of work I want to be doing, the way I interact with people, and on a more personal basis, the way I spend my time, how important schoolwork is versus spending time with other people. I feel like it just really aligned all of my priorities. And despite spending an extra hour of day praying, it actually felt like I started to develop more time in my life. I had a more clear thought process, more self-awareness and things like that that just allowed me to be less stressed, more efficient, and really be a happier person. And ever since then, it's been trying to hone that and develop that and figure out how faith best helps me to help other people. Yes and no. Yes, because I'm not used to praying, but no, because I am used to like setting aside at least an hour a day to work out, or try to set aside extra time to eat meals with people so that I'm not just rushing from place to place. But yeah, it was very different. I didn't know how to really implement it. I started out just kind of like either going to the grotto or going to I like the graveyard over on the way to St. Mary's, and then started praying in chapels more and things like that. But it was difficult to force myself to just kind of sit down and exist and pray for an extended period of time. But I was really surprised at how quickly it became such a source of peace and inspiration. So I think faith and engineering are really interrelated, and also my minor in philosophy. I think I see all three of these things as three of the biggest aspects of my life. I see engineering as a way for me to kind of help the more global or widespread community, in that whatever work I do, I hope that it has a significant impact on the way people live their lives, on the energy that is available for people to use, the sustainability of our environment and our processes for the next, hopefully, many generations. And then I see theology and faith as a way to improve myself and my relationship with God, and philosophy is almost like the in-between way that I like to think about my life and about how I can use that to help those people closest to me, and the way that I hopefully can be just happy and enjoy life. I think philosophy's kind of offered that perspective on just what's most important to me, and how I really think about the nature of the world. I think it's definitely a faith-based philosophy, not more so than like Kant or Hume, or people who think that reason doesn't exist, time isn't real, like all those things. But I think all three of these things, I think, come together as sort of a snowball effect of me trying to improve myself, trying to improve others, trying to improve the world, and kind of all culminating, I feel better about myself when I can help others, and all centered in my relationship with God. I think it's hard. It's definitely different. You know, it's not like we're going into class praying before every engineering class, or coming out of class feeling like I've learned how to be a better person from thermodynamics, which is just very different from some of the theology and philosophy classes I've taken. And I've left class feeling like, wow, like I want to start doing this or implementing this into my life. So from that practical standpoint, it's difficult. I think the biggest way is just the simple fact that engineering I see as my gift, something that I'm very good at and something that I really enjoy, and using that as a method of evangelization, that I think God has done really beautiful things for me, and I'm really grateful for that, and I want that to show in the way that I do engineering and the way that I think about it and talk about it, and also making sure that the reason I'm doing engineering is for the glory of God and not for some sense of personal glory or anything like that, which I think I definitely tend to fall into as one of my faults. So just trying to avoid that. Like I said, I think my gift is engineering from a professional standpoint. But I think even more so than that, I feel a very strong vocation towards marriage and raising a family. And so for that reason, I decided last summer that my girlfriend, who's going to medical school, I would try to follow her and base my decision on where to be next year on her decision of where she wants to go to med school, where she gets accepted to med school. So I knew that at this point I was at least interested in graduate school. I wasn't sold on it. Over the last year, I've gone back and forth a lot. Never more than 70% sure one way between industry or grad school, but flopping back and forth, and the job market being the way it is, I kind of decided it wouldn't be worthwhile to pursue a lot of jobs in a lot of different locations until she knew more exactly where she'd be. So just decided to kind of look at grad schools and applied to a few in the regions of her top choice for medical school, and just waited to see how things would play out, I guess. And then found out right before spring break that I had gotten accepted to Georgia Tech. And when I went and visited there for their recruitment weekend, I really sort of started to feel like, okay, graduate school is something that I can really see myself doing. I really enjoy being surrounded by people who are also as passionate about chemical engineering, who have these projects that they're working on that sound really cool, these personal projects, and just really enjoyed the environment there. And before, it had felt like grad school was this sort of abstract black hole of, I don't know what I'm getting into, and it made me realize, no, this is something that, like, just like undergrad, you're kind of your hand held through it. Everyone wants you to succeed. Everyone's pushing you. It's a very collaborative, friendly environment. And it made it just a little more real. So I started really thinking about it, hoping that something would work out for us both to go to the same city with graduate school and med school, but accepting that that might not be the case. And so she had gotten into 3 schools. That was the only one that really matched up between grad school and med school. Otherwise, I would have gone to get a job at one of the other schools until actually about a week ago. I had a conversation with a professor who said, oh, you know, it's too bad, she had gotten into Baylor, it's too bad you didn't apply to Houston, which is basically right next door. And I said, yeah, you know, maybe I can apply there next year and just start a year late, get a job for a year or something. And he actually said, you know what, I'll email a professor there. They might have some spots. So he did, and within the day they got back to me and didn't officially make an offer yet, but have since officially made a really good offer. So currently we're deciding between going to Atlanta and going to Houston. In both cases, we'll both be able to go to school. So I'll definitely be going to grad school, hoping to do some research in something related to energy, something related to either conserving, using less energy, finding processes that are more energy efficient, or maybe utilizing solar energy or green energy in a more effective way. So there's a couple professors there that I think, at both schools, that I think I would be able to do something along those lines with. And yeah, I think that's a big way in which I would be able to have some sort of impact on our society. Yeah, I think working at the soap company that I mentioned really made me interested more in industry. I never have felt a strong pull to teaching in a formal setting. I've always liked doing one-on-one tutoring. I know I would enjoy, working with my own kids or with kids in that sort of setting, but in my experience with teaching a class, I've been teaching catechism classes this semester, and I've really enjoyed it, but I don't know if it's what I'm best at. So I haven't given teaching or professorship much thought, but I'm definitely leaning towards industrial research, national lab work, that kind of thing. This whole experience of the past year in deciding what I want to do next year has been a very powerful exercise in trust in God's goodness, in God's love, in God's plan for me. And now that a decision for what I'm going to be doing next year is so close, it's becoming very obvious the grace and the love that's been so apparent through this entire process. And I think especially here at Notre Dame, there's such a pressure to know what you have, know what you're doing after graduation, before graduation. And for a while, I had just accepted that I probably wouldn't know until I started looking for jobs over the summer. And I had to learn to be okay with that, and now seeing the way everything's worked out has just been really powerful, made me very grateful. So my advice would be to just not worry. You have to, I really like the saying, work as if everything depends on you, pray as if everything depends on God. And I think that's very true for a lot of my life. I've always been a type A, kind of put my head down and work through whatever I have to work on. But it's nice to be able to just kind of surrender myself up to something greater, and kind of release at least some of the stress, some of the concern, and have faith that ultimately, I'm graduating from Notre Dame with a degree in engineering. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be happy, and it's really hit me this last week, especially how truly believing that has shaped the entire last year of my college life. I'm definitely going to look back on my senior year as one of the best and happiest times, and I'm so glad I can do that and not think of it as, I wish I wouldn't have been so stressed about finding a job, which grad school I'm going to. And I'm really grateful for that, and I hope that more people can feel that way, because I know I have friends who I don't know if they would say that they regret anything, but I know that I know a lot of people who have been very stressed, and I have been too. But overall, I think it's been a really good experience. I think overall, just being open to life, to the things that are gonna change, come your way. A lot has happened to me in the last 2 years that I never could have imagined, for a lot of good and bad reasons. Ultimately, I think everything has shaped me to be who I am now, and I wouldn't change anything. I'm very glad with the way everything's turned out. But I think that was only possible because I was able to have an open mindset, an optimistic view on not so much thinking of things as like being frustrated, like, why did this happen to me? But genuinely asking, why did this happen to me? Like, if this did happen, like, what can I learn from it? And yeah, having that learning mindset towards everything, because there are things that everything happens and you can't change it, but you can change how you react to it. And I think doing that will inevitably it has made me happier and more peaceful about the things that have happened to me in life.